future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to Dr. Judy, WTF, which is What the Freud, here on the Universal Broadcasting Radio Network. I'm your host, Walt Lusk, and of course, we have Dr. Judy Rosenberg in the house. You can pull us on Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, and of course here at ubnradio.com. We're a topic-driven show, but we're also a call-in show. So given the topic tonight, if you have some issues, and I have a sneaky suspicion more of you may than not, want to call in, you can. And our number is 323-843-2826. And our topic tonight is pornography and relationships. Dr. Judy's had some issues with some patients, and after me doing some research, it's no wonder. So if you have some challenges, ladies, with your man having a bigger relationship than you think, or guys, you have some challenges with it as well, feel free to call. And we'd love you to get on the couch with Dr. Judy.
It is a very emotional issue.
It's a very charged and stimulated issue.
It's very charged, and it really works its way into creating chaos in relationships, and we're going to talk about it. And being that you're a guy and I'm a woman, I think we have a perfect balance, and we can discuss all aspects of this. And then sometime in the near future, I'm going to have my psych assistant, Eric Perry, come on board and talk about his cases, of course, anonymously. And I believe that when you have an opportunity to hear how it plays out in the therapeutic environment, you'll get a better grip on what this does to relationships. And it's not as lightweight as we think it is.
It's not.
It's not casual.
Not anymore.
And so we'll get into the topic, and then we have a song that we will shrink.
We're going to shrink that tune. We got an oldie but a goodie that we've picked. And if you haven't heard it, you'll know it when you do. And we promise that once you do hear the song, you'll never hear the song the same again.
That's
and
right.
if you have any questions regarding the show, or a song you want us to shrink, or a topic you want us to address, we read everything that comes in. You can write us at info@drjudywtf.com. First, I thought I'd start out with some statistics, which really hits us. Mm-hmm. Porn has now largely become very mainstream in our society, and it's being thrown in our face every single day. The sites receive more regular traffic on the internet than Netflix, Amazon, and Twitter combined. 35% of all internet downloads are porn-related. It's increased marital infidelity by 300%, and 30% of all data transferred or downloads, it says, is porn-related. That's kind of a repeat. Child porn is becoming one of the fastest-growing businesses, which is kind of scary. And there was one about bestiality is becoming a little bit more crazy. The word sex and the word porn are ranked 4th and 6th on Google in terms of the top 10 most popular terms. Roughly 67% of men and 49% of women agree that viewing pornography is acceptable. That's pretty crazy. 4 out of 5, which is 80% of 16-year-olds regularly look at porn.
Now, when we get into this hot topic, we're not here to judge it. And, of course, we're all adults here except for the teens and the child porn that's out there. What I am is a systems thinker, and what I'm going to present is how it affects the system, how it affects the individual system, how it affects the marital system or people who are in a committed relationship, what that does. And I've had the privilege of being in that chair for a long time, so I've seen a lot of issues that have required many, many tissues. And I know that Eric has begun to see a pattern in his practice. And by the way, just for all of you to know, we have a really, really fine group of interns and psych assistants at the Psychological Healing Center. We really are growing in leaps and bounds. And thank you for those of you who call me and sign up for the Mind Map therapy. It is a 10-session Mind Map psychoeducational course that will take you from the problem through the process and to the solution. And the basic premise is that all these symptoms, porn included, are hole in the soul fillers.
Hole in the soul. And also the byline of the show, of course, is healing human disconnect. And what this issue is pretty disconnecting.
It is really disconnecting, and not surprising that as we grow more and more disconnected as a human race, we're getting more and more symptomatic, and it's attacking the area of our sexuality, and it's splintering us off and away from relationships into disconnecting forms of sex. So we will study this very carefully. For those of you who are familiar with my mind map, and for those of you who are not familiar with my mind map, I want to give you a little bit of a rundown on it.
And those of you that are listening, you can go to drjudywtf.com and see it.
Yes, and you can write me there too. And if you have any specific requests for topics or songs, we will honor them. And of course, we love call-ins. So
Absolutely.
If you're listening in and you want to jump right in, then please pick up the phone and do that. And the number is
323-843-2826.
Thank you.
So get on the couch with your emotional ouch.
Okay, so if you look at the mind map, and if you can...
It's up.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the mind map is divided into 9 panels, and the top 3 panels are the past and how we encode our issues from the past. The middle 3 rows is how we need to decode the damages of the past and how these damages dismantle us unless we dismantle them. And finally, the bottom row is how we can paradigm shift out of this entire mess and recode ourselves into health.
And you have to understand, it's 9 panels. Dr. Judy has mentioned that it's 10 sessions, meaning this is not something that's long-term and really painful for a long time.
Correct.
Dr. Judy is really quick with, going and seeing your therapist once a week for like years is just not, it's not in her DNA.
It's not in my DNA, and it's not in my DNA, not that some people don't require that type of service, and some do, and this is not to disparage any therapists out there who do that kind of work, because there's some really fine work going on. What I feel that I've created is a pathway to healing that's hopefully a better mousetrap for pathology, so that we can catch it, we can decode it, and then we can recode it. And it all is based on the wounds of childhood, which are based on starting with mother-infant disconnect, because that's the first disconnection. We're born, we're then disconnected from, and then there are layers of disconnections that are not that healthy. They're not just healthy forms of disconnect like birth and eventually cutting the umbilical cord. Some forms of disconnect are very damaging to the psyche, such as obviously physical abuse, neglect, smothering, sexual abuse. And so as a result of all kinds of injuries and disconnections, and then throw in the other layer of the father-infant disconnect, and father many times not even being available to mother to nourish her and support her and nurture her, it creates a really, really horrible dysfunctional system for children to be born into.
And it's no wonder that a lot of people try and fill that hole in the soul with pornography.
Right.
What's interesting is the photograph was invented in 1839, and in just 11 quick years, the word pornographer was seated in the dictionary.
Wow. They got busy with those cameras, huh?
Unaware of the Zeus-like power and the combustive fury that will come in the virtual infidelity that would someday be as close as harmless blue. What's interesting, the underground market is now more acceptable than ever and has gone more mainstream because of none other than Hugh Hefner. Playboy Enterprises is really a $4.9 billion behemoth. It's huge. And there's a new word, it's called intercourse net.
Intercourse net.
And not internet now, it's intercourse net. Yeah.
Oh,
So
very timely.
I've got a few more. Just stay tuned.
Okay. I am.
Yeah.
Go on.
The virtual infidelity that separates husband from wife is more than virtual and has been since fantasy, escape, betrayal, and the need to be held, loved, and understood. It's not connected at all.
And I want to start connecting some dots right here because by virtue of the fact that we have all of these cell phones and gadgets and so on, we already have the disconnective devices that are supposed to connect us. So it's no wonder that as we stray away from human touch, eye contact, skin contact, and all the things that are necessary for human connection, we are then going sideways into teletherapy, telephones, computers, and so on, and away from that human touch. And it's no wonder that we're doing intercourse
net. Well,
Okay.
yes, because an article I have, and I'd be happy to send this for anybody who wants to write at info@drjudywtf.com, a laptop or smartphone never says no.
Yeah, and we
Okay?
don't like the word no.
Once upon a time, a woman's, in terms of relationships, right? Once upon a time, a woman's greatest fear was a good-looking, buxom blonde. These days, her greatest fear is thousands of them on the internet. Okay? The availability has made the issue in relationships a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to say, I'm going to bowling tonight. They just have to go to their office or a spare bedroom, close the door.
Right, and I don't know any women or men out there, and this goes two ways, by the way. Not only are the men looking at porn, the women are looking at porn as well. We'll get into that, and I know I sent you some information regarding that. Mm-hmm. So there isn't a human being alive that doesn't have a little bit of a sense of insecurity about their body, whether they feel that their nose is too big or their boobs are too little,
How'd
or
you know?
their and what's that?
How did you know?
How did I know? Lucky guess. Lucky guess. We've done a lot of episodes on plastic surgery. We did one a few weeks ago, and body dysmorphic disorder
and
teen plastic surgery in particular. And actually, I was interviewed by Huffington Post. And for those of you who want to see that interview, it's up on my website.
Or watch the show.
Or watch the show.
Yeah,
right.
on YouTube.
Yes, that too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. It's there too. So because we are such delicate creatures and we already live with certain insecurities, and we already have what we talk much about, negative core beliefs. We have some form of negative core belief already built in from our own wounds of childhood, core beliefs like we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not this enough, we're not that enough. So when we see our partner veering away from us, turning on the screen, right, and downloading fresh pictures of people who are idyllic and probably photo generated and silk screened out and whatever they do to the images, then it is it's creating what I refer, and my industry refers to, as a narcissistic injury upon the person who is now feeling rejected, dejected, and not good enough. So this is a very dangerous game that we're playing.
Yes, and it's pornography. It's a new synthetic pathway. You wake up in the morning, this is of course from a gentleman's perspective, open a thumbnail page, and it leads to a Pandora's box of virtuals. There have probably been days when I have seen 300 women before I get out of bed.
300 women.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine
certain parts of women, but 300 women before he gets out of bed.
And how many women? Here's a bad joke that I haven't gotten the conclusion to yet, but I'm all about bad jokes. How many pornographic images does it take for people to have one orgasm? It's like, the beginning of a bad joke. So,
well, I've got a little story
this is
here.
very stimulating stuff.
I've got a story here if you want to hear it.
Sure.
I met a woman at a Broadway show, but last night's best piece of acting, I say, came from me back at her East Village apartment after we'd been having sex for about 25 minutes. With Neil Young playing Comes a Time from her laptop on her bedside table. The dried out condom had a full-bodied choke hold on me, but I'd already stopped twice to put a fresh one on, and I knew as I kept earnestly pumping away that one more condom wouldn't make the necessary difference. Had I just given up, things might have played out the way they often did, with shades of confused disappointment and inadequacy on the part of the woman, and mumbled apologies and awkward shame from me. But that night ingeniously struck upon actually how I got off. I found myself flashing a fresh route. I faked it.
The guy did?
Yeah.
The guy faked it.
Yeah.
Well,
Why would I, a healthy guy in his 30s, need to fake an orgasm? I was mystifying and wasn't on antidepressants, which I'd heard could decrease sensation. I'd gotten plenty of exercise. It didn't seem to matter which woman I was with or what kind of condom was used, or whether I downed one glass of whiskey or 10. Or if I'd listened to Neil Young or Al Green, or I'd learned through trial and error, mostly error. Over the course of months, I'd picked up dozens of suspects out of the lineup and gradually cleared each one, except perhaps for the most obvious. Pornography. And away it goes. There's a new rapid proliferation of internet porn which leads to over-masturbation.
very
Here's
painful.
another phrase. Well, no, you guys get overstimulated while looking at all these photos,
Right.
and they have to take care of business more often.
Right, and then it leads to soreness and
Mm-hmm.
redness, and then a sense of addiction, because really what's happening on a psychopharmacological level is that they're releasing all these endorphins into their bloodstream, and the dopamine and so on. So
Yep.
it becomes this wonderful drug, and they have to up the ante. So now they need different forms of stimulation. So it's sort of like they get bored with this color nipple, or they get bored with this shape of vagina.
Or
So
maybe this week
they
it's
need
blondes
something-
and next week it's brunettes.
Right. So they keep having to re-stimulate their senses with the newness of something fresh. And so can you
Well, here-
imagine how
here's-
this works in a relationship,
But wait,
right?
but wait, there's more. Most of the men I interviewed, this is a person who interviewed him, admitted to having similar habit of jumping quickly from porn clip to porn clip,
Okay.
which explain why the rise of popularity of cum shot montages.
Right.
It went so far as to coin the term sexual attention deficit disorder.
Wow. Sexual attention.
Sexual
Like that makes them really sad,
Sexual
doesn't it?
attention deficit disorder.
How
For a lot-
sad.
Man, oh man. For a lot of guys, switching gears from porn's fireworks and whiz-bang to the regular mundane calm of ordinary sex is like leaving halfway through an IMAX 3D movie and then going back to a flip book. Okay?
Jeez. So look, if these perfectionistic models
Yes.
are needing to be switched out on a regular basis, almost like at
Well,
a-
no.
at
This
a-
guy talked about every day.
Every
Okay?
day.
Yeah.
Okay, so-
Monday it was Gina. Tuesday it was Sasha. Wednesday it was a
Mm-hmm.
Portuguese. And then on Thursdays it was Casey Cox. I'm paraphrasing because these are porn stars. So, I mean, every night was a different woman, and it was all of them on the internet.
Well, it used to be like Monday night was mashed potatoes and steak, and Tuesday night was tortillas and
Taco
rice,
Tuesday.
and it's like okay,
Margarita Monday and Taco Tuesday.
exactly. So then what about wifey and husband? What happens to those people? Okay, so if they're so stimulated and needing to be re-stimulated with fresh stimulation, then
yeah.
what happens when there's one wife or one husband or one girlfriend or one partner and one? So what does that mean to that one partner?
Well, then guys are looking for what's called a PSE, porn star experience, right?
Okay.
They want everything that's shaved, and they want the whole 9 yards. And obviously, women, this is no way they're going to be able to compete with that at all, right?
Well,
It's really
it
hard.
just got me thinking in all the right directions what women do to have that porn star look. And I remember one of the things that one of my patients was talking about is how she had her anus waxed and bleached because that was the good look. I mean, that was how
She'd watched way
particular.
too much stuff on the
I
internet.
guess so, but that's what made her feel like she was going to be porn star perfect.
Yeah,
and then this plays into the plastic surgery stuff,
does.
and it's all interconnected.
Did it work for her? Did it?
I don't remember.
remember?
I don't
Okay.
remember, but that's what she felt that she needed to do to look her optimal best. And then they actually bleach any discoloration around the area so that everything looks so fresh and I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. TMI.
That's way too much information for me. Thanks. Countless couples are trying to figure out how to deal with pornography with their relationship. Some couples report using pornography to enhance their relationship. Others aim to completely avoid it. And the third group are discovering that they don't agree about how to use it. So, I mean, do you use some of it? Do you use none of it? Do you use a little of it? Because it's so prevalent. It's like if you can't beat them, pardon the pun, join them, right? But the first individuals who want to stop viewing pornography are having a difficult time doing so. The frequency of viewing pornography, about 3 to 5 times a week or more, is related to elevated depression, anxiety, and loneliness. Those who frequent are more extreme. They find overall less happiness and less satisfaction. Okay, women who discover that their partners are involved in pornography report experiencing tremendous amounts of fear and anxiety.
Of course.
Okay,
Right.
I mean, what's interesting is a woman response over this is, you ready, ladies? They feel hurt, angry, devastated,
Yeah.
sick, disgusted,
Yeah.
outraged,
Right.
unattractive, inadequate, not good enough, less than, even ugly, and not uncommon feeling insecure and uncertain about having doubts,
Yeah.
let alone suspicions and lots of unanswered questions. And they're wondering if they can trust their man to even stay away from it.
And then it creates a whole monitoring system.
Yep, and betrayal
that's-
as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, it's litany.
So I ask you, Walt, as a guy, so is there anything that's healthy about this?
No.
They keep
No.
talking about healthy pornography, sharing healthy fantasies, sharing healthy pictures, but then when I walk into my treatment room and I see the look on my patients' faces after they have found out that their husbands or lovers or whatever are filing through pornographic pictures, they don't look really healthy to me. And the guys themselves are not exactly not in pain either.
No, they're not, because it's like, there was one thing, I can't find it real quick. Either they feel guilty and ashamed, and they realize it's not kosher, but it's like, okay, how do I deal with this? And it's like they've getting caught with their pants down and they don't know,
Right.
how to put them back on. It's
Right.
kind of crazy. The three things are in terms of, why does porn feel like betrayal? Okay, one is it's a form of cheating.
Right.
Okay, and even Dr. Phil will tell you that it's a form of cheating. Giving away part of themselves away. When they're in a committed relationship, then they've agreed to give themselves only to one person, and they give their sexual interest, desires, and attention elsewhere.
And think about it, it's like classical conditioning. Remember Pavlov
Yeah.
and the
Pavlov's
dogs,
dog.
Pavlov's dogs, and every time the bell rang, the dogs would salivate and the bell would be associated with food. It's sort of like if you're associating your orgasm with pornography, right? And that's what is bringing you ultimate pleasure, and you're not associating many of your orgasms with your partner, then through classical conditioning, what do you think is going to happen to the connection, the sexual, the emotional, the spiritual connection? Nobody talks about pornography and spirituality. Wow, those two words really go together.
Well, that's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful, right? Yeah. So we're again back to the system. When you keep the energy in the system, when you have two people and they're committed to each other and they keep the energy internally, it makes for a lot more light and a lot less chaos. I've worked with many couples who have agreed to go outside the relationship, and they have reduced the stress by agreeing that they were going to see other people, and it kind of starts working a little bit because the lying and the cheating go down, but then ultimately it throws the system off of the balance, and anytime you have that human disconnect, there's an opportunity for the wound to be activated and for the people within that system to really experience a triggering of that wound that leads them to emotional dysregulation and chaos. And then they start defending, and then they can start defending with overeating or drinking or also doing porn or shutting down or whatever.
I've got a little bit on that. So
Go
let
ahead.
me finish these three things. So
Sure.
the first one is, it's a form of cheating. Second off, sex is very, very personal. It's the most intimate way we can connect with another person. Mm-hmm. And lastly, it's almost always done in secret. So it's
which makes it
extremely loaded.
exciting, right?
Yes.
Stimulating. It's
Right.
that dirty little secret.
Yeah.
But
that
you know
dirty
what?
little secret.
When you think about it, and I've treated a lot of people who I call my incubator babies, people who are being born prematurely, and they're disconnected because they're in the incubator, and in some cases, mom or dad or primary caregiver isn't able to touch them as frequently and breastfeed them and put them on their chest and have them feel a heartbeat. That as we're getting more and more disconnected, as mothers are going back to work too early, as children are put into childcare and they're touched less, and as we're growing disconnected more and more societally, it is no surprise that we're reaching for objects. We're objectifying our sexuality because we were objectified. So if we want to connect the dots on this one, the more objectified we were as infants, the more we will, what I call, identify with our wounders or aggressors, and we will start objectifying also as a defense mechanism against intimacy. I write about that in the book. And by the way, for all of the people, my book is now at my editors for last edit. It's going to be uploaded.
Pretty darn quick.
Covers going on.
PDQ. Pretty
I
darn
think
quick.
by the end of this month, beginning of next month.
Healing human disconnect, be the cause. A little more global, I've got 8 reasons as to why men use porn. Ladies,
Okay.
I thought this might be helpful for you. Why? Let's go a little more to the cause, right? 1, they enjoy sexual excitement and release, obviously, that porn delivers. They like sexual variety, an endless selection of such. Third, our sexual partner will do anything they want to do, and they will enjoy it. And they
Virtually.
never get tired. Yes,
Right, virtually.
And they are always ready for more.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Right.
Fourth, the real world has a lot of stress and uncertainty, but the world of porn is very predictable and very controllable. Fifth, there are always times when we're hot to trot, but our partner is just too tired. So a quick visit to the home office. There's a harem available of playmates awaiting their commands.
And the best part is no emotional commitment. You don't even have to buy them flowers
That's
afterwards.
it. You don't have to buy them
just like,
flowers. Right?
And you don't pay for it necessarily because it's so, come on, there's so much of it on
There is a lot, but
online,
what's interesting-
But sometimes you do.
Well, there is a lot that's free, I will admit. But
Yeah.
even Christine Brinkley, one of the reasons why she got divorced from her husband was he was spending $3,000 a month on internet porn. Not only they had the money
Really?
to spend it, but I'm still trying to do the math on that one. Sixth, though we may have overcome the Madonna whore complex, it is still easier to have regular sex with our partner and let our minds run wild while things we do and we let ourselves go.
And that's another thing, Walt, that's a very interesting part of this, is that when men load up their mind with files and files of different pictures and shapes and so on, right? And they're with their one woman, what they can do is they can access those files and just replay.
Well, physically they're with their woman, but
right,
mentally
but they're not with their woman.
No.
So where's the connection? So what we're doing is we're making love to our woman or our man, our partner, And then within our heads, we're not really with that person, we're with the fantasy person. And so what are we really training ourselves to connect to
again,
here?
we're seeking the porn experience, the ultimate porn experience. In a world where we are all so busy with work, home, family, a pornographic affair may seem like some small comfort for those who are cut off and lonely. And lastly, instant gratification isn't fast enough for me. We live in a microwave society. We
Right.
want it now.
Right.
One client told me in a speeded up world where we want everything served up hot, fast, and fresh. And there you go. That's why
Kind of
my
like
men
the
men.
porn of McDonald's, you know, like we don't even have to drive through anymore. We don't have to spend the gas. It's just like fire up the computer, cell phones. It's so accessible.
Right.
Yeah.
And then again, on what you've stated here, there are 5 ways porn ruins relationships. It's very destructive. First is porn teaches viewers to objectify their partner, is what you've mentioned, right? Sex is meant to be enjoyed by a couple who love and respect one another. A healthy romantic relationship is cultivated through physical, intellectual, and emotional connection. If one is removed, just one, then the entire relationship just might crumble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Porn sets up unrealistic standards, as we've talked about. Okay, and we need to be united. And the Bible talks about us being united as one. Right. Third, porn can be a very slippery slope because first you're watching porn, then maybe you're going to go to chat rooms and talk to women, then you might want to meet one. So in other words, it's very, very progressive at times, and we've had a show on early on about
It's
emotional.
a gateway drug, right?
It's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug.
Right.
We had a show early on talking about emotional versus physical affairs.
Yes,
Porn-
it is. It is
Yeah.
an emotional affair.
Absolutely. Porn destroys trust, right? Porn is one of the easiest ways to completely break trust because it violates the intimacy of the love relationship, and of course there's extreme hurt. And lastly, porn could lead to isolation. Okay, might be embarrassing to admit, so you kind of just do it by yourself. Or a lot of relationships, marriages are broken up because of an addiction to porn, and obviously that leads to isolation as well. Right?
And another part of porn is that sex toys could get involved also. And I was thinking about vibrator, for example. Okay, so vibrator is a mechanical device that vibrates at a certain frequency. And so if a man or a woman trains his or her body on a vibrator, right, which is an object, then when the real thing is present, right, and it doesn't vibrate as quickly, then there's a sense
there's a challenge.
Of a challenge to achieve orgasm. So, the more we get these objects involved, the less tactily awake we are, and the more we're training our bodies on objects.
This is a call-in show. So, ladies, if you have too much of an intimate relationship with Bob, and for those of you who don't know Bob, B-O-B, that's battery-operated boyfriend, give us a call at 323-843-26. You're listening to Dr. Judy WTF here on UBN Radio Network. I am your host, Walt Lusk.
I think you left out one of the numbers. Say it again.
323-843-2826.
Thank you.
And you can, of course, write us at info@drjudywtf.com. Now, just to say, okay, I'm not addicted. It's not me. And the progression, I thought I'd touch on the stages of pornography addiction. Right?
Okay.
And there's 5. And which one are you? First is the early stages. Most guys, start early. They get their foot in the door. Maybe they're going to go buy a magazine or, dabble in it, or some site pops into their, or some stupid email. I mean, a lot of emails are that related. Secondly, later comes the addiction. You keep coming back to porn. It becomes a regular part of your life. You're hooked and you can't quit. Okay? Question is, can you take all that porn on your laptop, on your cell phone, and leave it and don't turn to it for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days? If you can't, it might be a problem. Then there's escalation. This is third. After a while, escalation begins. You start to look at more and more graphic pornography. 6 is desensitization, we talked about. You become numb. So again, you're seeking more and more graphic porn that just doesn't work for you anymore. And then lastly, the ultimate addiction is you act out sexually. They go more dangerous, and they're going to jumping in and meeting people to do it.
Right, and just like a drug, the more you do it, the more you need, and the less satisfying it is, and so then you need to repeat cycle to satisfy again. And so we talk a lot about the repetition principle,
yes.
And so this is a kind of a druggy repetition principle. There is a 12-step called Sex and Loveaholics Anonymous.
Well, there's SA, sex
SLAA, I think.
Okay, well, there's also SA, Sexaholics Anonymous.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are individuals who suffer so much from this, and it's not what you think it is. It's not a fun hobby. There are people who injure their sexual organs as a result of over-masturbating, and they become raw, and the nerve endings start to hurt. And
become more
so
desensitized.
And so if you're suffering from a sexual addiction, and I know we're focused on porn, but any kind of sexual addiction, then you might want to check out a 12-step meeting. They're free. You can get a sponsor, and you can have group support. And
can't do it alone.
Right. And again, when we talk about overeating, or we talk about some other defense mechanism, there's not necessarily as much shame around it as there is with porn. So this is not, like
something that's just a little hobby.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, the erosive influence of pornography, if you're married, interviewing 350 divorce attorneys. Now remember, these are attorneys that specialize in divorce. This isn't just attorneys in general. Said that 2/3, 66%, the internet played a significant role in the divorce. Okay? Internet online porn contributed more than half of all cases. I mean, that's a huge statistic.
Now, I know that we also had a show on Facebook and reconnecting with your old lover from high school, college,
Facebook,
whatever,
Twitter.
and that kind of connection also can ruin marriages.
Well, that's an emotional affair.
Right. It's an emotional affair. This is a little bit of a different kind of a thing, because the image is so objectified. The emotion involved is kind of like a non-emotion, and it's very, very physical. Nonetheless, it's impossible for the person involved with the person using pornography to not have feelings about it.
Yes, it's a very charged issue, and with the time left, I thought we would talk about ways to navigate a relationship. There's, again, 5 ways in a porn-saturated world. So if you find yourself in the situation, it's a wedge of secrecy, and there's TNA elation. I thought that was an interesting word.
What is it?
TNA elation. TNA elation. Tits and ass. TNA elation.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The first of the 5 is to first face reality. Be honest with yourself or your partner. 1 in 3 visitors are female, but most are men. So porn becomes epidemic in America, and these aren't just fringe perverts. It's your friends, it's your neighbors, it's your colleagues, it's everyone. Okay, it's everywhere. So don't think that it can't happen to you, or it's not my guy or my gal. It might be. Second, do a self-inventory. Did those stats freak you out? I mean, the fact that your neighbor and your colleagues and such. Are you horrified and disgusted? If so, figure out why. Do you have a compulsive religious upbringing, or memories of childhood sexual abuse, or maybe something like an encounter with porn in contact with a relationship that you've had in the past? Third, figure out what kind of relationship you can comfortably live with and have porn in it. Maybe it's a compromise. If you can't beat them, join them. Porn is part of our society. You can't escape it, unfortunately, whether you want to be part of it or not. Simply because it exists does not dictate how you, in or out of a relationship, must relate to it. So it isn't a secret that we can laugh about. It's a pretty serious thing. In my experience, conversation is the best form of foreplay. Again, I was going to comment earlier when you said about relationships. If both parties, and again, if you want to go on drjudy@wtf.com, and get Peaceful Healing Dialogue.
Thank you. I was going to mention that. Right.
Yeah,
It's in the forms section.
Yeah, in the forms
under
section.
resources.
And it's available to one page. It's laid out very, very succinctly. It's very simple of how to have a conversation, because I guarantee you, your partner probably is suspecting it's an issue or a challenge in the first place. And instead of going down the road of betrayal and secrecy, you might want to just
grab that dialogue and have a peaceful, healing dialogue so that you don't disconnect the relationship permanently. And so sometimes porn and engaging in porn is a symptom of some other form of disconnect. It always is. And so then it'll open up dialogue, hopefully, between the people in the relationship that has to do more with other issues, because the porn is usually just a symptom of some kind of a lack of intimacy, some form of disconnect.
Well, it's interesting. I'm going to read the end of this article, and we've got two more. A healthy relationship with porn mimics other facets of a healthy relationship. Honest dialogue, a sense of humor, and an open mind. Just don't let it become bigger, hotter, longer, faster than it really is. Okay, the monster under the bed isn't so scary when you invite him up for a chat. So
Nicely
again,
put.
have a peaceful, healing dialogue. But the two other things is along those lines, take action, right? It's like the elephant in the room, right? If you shove it under the carpet in the middle of the room, you're going to trip over it a whole bunch of times.
No, this is the thin blonde elephant, Walt.
No, thin, buxom blonde.
Okay, fine.
Under the carpet. Or it could be under the sheet. You never know.
Right.
Take action. I found that it's often true in the way that, I just thought this was a really interesting, this is from a woman's point of view, in a way that like eating Taco Bell before a lobster dinner may spoil things. And then she puts in parentheses, I'm the lobster dinner. Okay? So that, it's true, right? You want to go having a feast with caviar and lobster dinner, and you're gonna drive through Taco Bell before you do that? Really? I just consider that there's a place for porn that might be enhanced relationship. I mean, again, this is under the origins of having an open mind. You explore this like a new recipe, or going to a new museum or a movie, or exploring sexuality as an avenue is better to engage and understand. It might just open up a window to your sex life that might be interesting. It might. But, again, there's got to be honesty and communication and a little bit of openness. I mean, I know the pendulum is swinging the other direction here, but you know what? You can't escape it. I mean, look at any commercial. We all know that sex sells, and we are sexual beings. My father was a physician, and he was known for saying, my mother says this, I didn't hear it from him, that, why does sex always feel so good, right? So it's a very important part of our life and a very integral part of a relationship. No, it's not everything, right? Might be 10%, might be 20% if you're going to put a percent on it, but it's a very important percentage.
And whatever it is that people choose to do, the number one priority has to be the relationship. And if any one of the people within that relationship is finding that these elements, porn elements, is actually harming the relationship, then it's time to do something about it and take action and put the relationship as primary, sacred, and protect that relationship.
Because, and it's better to do it sooner than later, because once a woman has felt betrayed and can't trust you guys, it can be repaired, but it's a long road. So again, just address the monster that's under the bed, and it probably won't be as scary as you think. And that is our show, with the exception of our song. And we're going to shrink a tune. And, of course, the song that came to mind is one that's been around for a while from the Atlanta Rhythm section, entitled Imaginary Lover.
Love this song.
Yeah,
I just thought of it when we were going to do the show.
I did.
And again, I think we're going to have a part 2 on this eventually.
we
And I do want to see if my psychological assistant, Eric Perry, would be a guest on the show and share some case studies and the work that he's been doing with people who are devastated because they've caught their partner using porn. So with that said,
and
imaginary
again,
lover.
We are available on the internet, just like porn, at info@Dr.
Just
Judy.
like porn, we're available on the internet too. Well said, Walt. That was a good one. Porn, Dr. Judy WTF. I don't know. You choose.
At info@drjudywtf.com.
Right.
So we're going to have a different kind of intercourse net.
That's right.
And we're going to have a discussion and a conversation.
Right.
And the peaceful healing dialogue is there as well. So, Imaginary Lover by the Atlanta Rhythm section. Imaginary lovers never turn you down. When all the others turn you away, they're around. It's my private pleasure, midnight fantasy.
Well, we talk a lot about narcissistic injuries, and one thing an imaginary lover does is never turn you down. So they're always going to be esteeming you.
Someone to share my wildest dreams with. Imaginary lover, you're mine anytime. Imaginary lovers, oh yeah. When ordinary lovers don't feel what you feel and real life situations lose their thrill.
Well, there's a lot being said here. One of the things that we like to have as human beings is a feeling that we're being mirrored. So we like to share with another human being. We don't necessarily want the ordinary. We want to feel something much more thrilling than that, especially when we're depressed and depleted. Okay, so this imaginary lover business is a good business when you need a quick dopamine or adrenaline rush.
Imaginary lover, you're mine anytime. Imaginary lovers never disagree. They always care. They're always there when you need satisfaction guaranteed.
Yeah, and here's another thing. With all of the human disconnect between mother and an infant and sibling rivalries and so on, this imaginary lover is mine. And this imaginary lover is mine anytime, meaning demand feeding of emotions, okay? They always care. That's what we hope our mothers would do for us, right? Always there. And satisfaction guaranteed, which we don't get in ordinary life.
No, we don't. Mm-hmm. And as I've said before, we live in a very microwave society. Sometimes some things are worth waiting for, but, sometimes we just don't want to wait, right? Imaginary lover, you're mine all the time. My imaginary lover, you're mine anytime.
No loneliness anytime. Just whip that imaginary lover out and morph it according to your needs, and perfect fit.
Most of the time, although my question is for guys, once you are very involved in this and spend a lot of time. I mean, there were stories about, hey, I came home from work, I got home before my wife and got a beer and spent an hour and went through internet and had a very happy ending. I mean, is it really ultimately is it that fulfilling? So
for the moment,
for the moment, but ultimately. Yeah. So that's the song, An Imaginary Lover by the Atlanta Rhythm section. We're going to close out with the show. Thanks so much for watching us on YouTube. You can go to Dr. Judy WTF on YouTube and saunter over to Facebook and like us if you'd like to. And we send you some interesting things on there as well. Or you can write us at info@drjudywtf.com. And on there also is the Psychological Healing Center. If you want some conversation, either via Skype, phone, or in person, we're here for you.
And lots of blogs on there for you, too.
And lots of growing blogs.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Walt Lusk. This has been Dr. Judy WTF, What the Freud, here on UBN Radio Network. Until next time, God bless everyone.
You.
Oh. What's it going to play?
Find that imaginary.
me.